Okay, welcome everyone. I think people will still be jumping in, but I wanted to get us started today. My name is Becky. I am from the Los Angeles chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council. We are very happy to have you today to do an overview of this credentialing for green builders and construction personnel. So we'll be going over what these certifications are about and upcoming opportunities to dig deeper into them. So we have two great speakers today. Grady O'Rear will go first and give you a little bit of an overview on the certifications, and then Ellie, who is the official trainer for the exam prep, will go on. So if you can all keep your microphones muted while the presenters are on, there will be time for Q&A after. You can also use the chat box feature, which I will chat to you in now, to ask any questions that come up while the presenters are on, and then we can go over them after. So without further ado, Grady, why don't you give us a start?
Well, thank you, Becky, and thank you everyone for attending. As Becky indicated. Oh, really?
Oh, no,
okay.
No, you're good. Sorry.
Okay. I was just saying thank you, Becky, and I'll speak up. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. And as Becky indicated, we're going to look at two certifications that are targeted to construction personnel. And we're going to then have information from Ellie Bunzadal, who's at O'Brien 360, who will help give us an overview of how to prepare for these exams. This is, more and more is what we're experiencing, of course, in virtually every industry, but I actually made this slide prior to COVID-19. Because there's so many disruptive forces at play right now in the construction industry. And of course, that makes it very challenging for construction personnel. Just want to step through some of the disruptive forces with you here. One, of course, is people looking for a job. As of April and May this year, the early May Associated General Contractors analysis showed that 975,000 construction workers lost their job in the past couple of months. That's about 13% of construction industry personnel, either looking for a job or saying, hey, how can I hold on to my job? Another disruptor is, of course, AI. Here, there's a bricklaying robot. One robot I looked at can lay 1,000 bricks an hour in various formations. Drones, of course, are flying around. They can deliver materials. They can supervise, if you will, at a distance, do commissioning activity or commissioning-related activity. This gentleman running the grader is actually running 4 graders at once. And because of the sophistication with AI and the aerial photography that has been taken by a drone, it's very efficient from a fuel standpoint. It's all very nicely choreographed, and he's just there as a backup to some extent. 3D printing is another big innovation that's coming forward, not only for building parts and materials, products, but also the buildings themselves. You may be familiar with some of the work at the University of California. They call it contour crafting there. You can see even a bridge being constructed by a robot 3D printing operative. Disasters, unfortunately, their intensity and their frequency is increasing, and that is another huge disruptor and certainly has implications for construction personnel. We all know, too, that there's a wide array of green building rating systems and standards and codes that can be somewhat confusing, even for those of us who are really trying to follow them. We don't want to see construction workers put in a position where they're talking to owners or owners' representatives and being told, oh, well, let's go with a green globes or a passive house model, or let's use the International Green Construction Code on this project, and have people scratching their heads. We want them to, of course, be able to respond, but it's another disruptive force. So the big question is, how can construction personnel keep up with so many changes in means, methods, materials, and best practices? And we do have 2 credentials, 2 certifications that are ANSI accredited at Green Advantage. One is for field personnel, the Green Advantage Certified Associate, and this is across trades regardless of the green building rating system standard or code utilized. And then we have a Green Advantage Certified Practitioner, which is a higher bar. It's for supervisory personnel. Cross trade, again, cross trades, it's ANSI accredited. If some of you are wondering what ANSI is, it's the American National Standards Institute, and it's considered the gold standard for credentialing bodies and credentials. They follow the International Organization for Standardization, the ISO, and its protocols. Every year, Green Advantage is audited as an organization by them, and all of the credentials we offer are also audited to make sure they're being created properly and maintained properly. When people register for one of the 2 exams, they're sent a study guide, and it's very comprehensive study guide to give you an idea. For the GACP, the credential that we have targeted to supervisory personnel, we have over 2,000 references in the standards from the literature, and backing up the material, the content of the study guide. And for the Green Advantage Certified Associate, the GACA, for field personnel, we have about over 1,200 references from the literature, because it's a subset of what you find in the study guide for the supervisory personnel. There's a certification board, and it's made up by experts from both Canada and the US. There are over 20 people on the board, and they have to approve the content and the processes related to the certifications. Just to step you through the components that are in the content of the study guides, you'll recognize here that we've got at least 5 components that are very similar to what you'll find, for example, with the LEED credentials. Energy, water, site, IEQ, and materials. But we've added context and process. The context of green building would include issues like, what are the prominent green building rating systems and codes? We want you to be generally familiar with those. What are they about? On the process side, we want people to be able to understand better about health and safety issues that relate to green building. We want people to understand best practices related to the notion of sequencing, construction. A number of risks, too, are in this category of process of green building. For example, idling on the site. What are the best practices? just to step you through some of the points that you find in these 7 components. As I said, the rating system standards and codes. I mentioned best practices in the GACP. This is the one for the supervisors, the certification for supervisors. Over 800 green building best practices are in the study guide. And then as a subset of that, in the GACA study guide for the field personnel, over 300. Each of these best practices is tracked as pertinent to either pre-design through post-construction of projects. Advantages and disadvantages of green practices are also listed. To look not just the pluses, but some of the drawbacks is important. And then we have greater emphasis too on cost control throughout, worker health and safety. And I'll mention that the research now, for example, is showing that some green building best practices are actually more hazardous than anticipated. They were seen to be as, oh, maybe they'll be on par with conventional construction. Well, no, research is indicating that's not true. And so what are those additional hazards, and how can we help to address them, either eliminate them or reduce their impact? Disaster resilience, of course, is important. There are many disaster-related best practices, as well as infection control. We were pleased to include this even before COVID came out. And then the materials are regularly updated. I think we're involved in an update this year. We've also had evidence-based information research done at the University of Florida. Charles Kibbert is a professor there. He's also director of the Powell Center for Construction and the Environment. Examined different projects and queried the supervisory personnel in a variety of projects about the use of Green Advantage personnel who are certified on those projects. And he found significant environmental health and attitudinal improvements. He also found a trend that projects that utilized more of these workers who are certified are more likely to spot problems that are coming up, identify ways to deal with them, and cost cuts, to looking at opportunities there. And that in some cases, he found that the project was actually pursuing one level of lead and got to a higher level as a result of having certified, Green Advantage certified people working on the project. So we do have a number of reasons why we've got higher market value here. The ANSI accreditation I told you about, we're really the only ANSI accredited credentials of this type in the green building arena in the market. We also have a lead innovation credit associated with the use of Green Advantage certified construction personnel. And for those who may be eligible veterans, the cost of the exam will be reimbursed by the Veterans Administration for either one of the exams, and that can function multiple times. Even if the eligible veteran fails the exam, they can get reimbursement for retaking it. A number of different groups that are utilizing Green Advantage certification in their companies to improve their delivery, their market value in general. An example here is just pulled this from one of the Pepper construction. This is from their website. Pepper is roughly $1 billion company. You may not have heard about it in Los Angeles, but you can see how the GACP signifier is used after Evan's name. And in talking to Pepper about how they use their credentialed personnel, because they have quite a few credentialed, they'll develop a unique marketing package for each project, and then they share that with them about how they have a very capable staff who are working together, who are eligible for the lead innovation credit if it's a lead project, or just showing the owners or the owners' representatives that they're better prepared to do high quality work that results in high performance, healthy buildings. The exam, each of the exams are $250 a piece to take, and what you get then is a study guide sent to you when you pay that $250. The certification itself is good for 5 years. You can renew it through continuing education and a number of different groups like GBCI and AIA and American Society of Civil Engineers. Those groups, if they've approved training, Green Advantage recognizes that approval as long as the continuing education falls within one or more of our 7 Green Builder components. Exams are offered paper pencil. That's what we have been doing until recently with COVID, but we are now switching to exams offered remotely with online proctoring. We hope to have that available in June. We have to go through a special ANSI process to get it approved, and that's in process. But in the interim, if somebody needs to take the exam very quickly, we can deploy a proctor. We just need to work out the logistics with you, and we'll do that without additional charge. We'd prefer to do it to groups, but given the special challenges of COVID-19, we will even do it for an individual who needs to take an exam quickly to become certified. And once you do pay, and you can buy vouchers, you can buy for multiple exams if you're buying for a company, or you can just sign up individually on our website. And here's the way you go about it, either for the GACP or the GACA. You can click to register and learn more on our website. It's greenadvantage.org. We also have a free ebook you may want to take a look at that gives some sampling of the hundreds of best practices that we have in the study guide. Even if you decide not to go after one of the certifications, you might know somebody who might be interested, so please pass that free ebook around. And now I'll turn it over to you, Ellie, to talk about how to prepare for these exams.
Great, thanks. Okay. There we go. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining in. I'm going to talk about why would you invest in a study session. You know, you can just sign up and take the test yourself, but I want to go through a couple reasons why to invest in a study session and why O'Brien 360. So I wanted to outline the process a little bit as a potential pathway for earning either the GACA or GACP credential. So first, as Grady talked about, you need to register for the exam. Once you receive that official study guide, that was really the basis for your own study. But then we found that it's very helpful, and multiple contractors we've worked with who have invested in exam study sessions for their employees, have really found it useful and valuable to really help folks to motivate in a group setting or a cohort setting to study for the exam together. So what we do is help you with additional enhanced materials for studying. We have organized a live exam study session, especially remotely nowadays, to be able to provide those same benefits. And then you still need to do some additional studying outside of the exam study session, but we really help you prioritize and hone in on the key things that will help you pass the exam. So you'll end up, like Grady said, once you register for the exam, you'll receive the study guide. And right now, anybody can go to greenadvantage.org and download these other two items, the certification handbook and the exam content overview. And those are also helpful, especially if you're trying to decide whether this is right for you. Those two resources are available for immediate and free download for anybody. But like Grady said, that study guide is available to you once you've registered for the exam. If you take one of our study sessions, you'll receive additional materials as well. So what we've put together are prioritized study tips. So there are a couple of us in this company who have taken the exam. I took the GACP, a previous colleague of mine had taken the GACA. So we really know, and we're following all the rules of what we're allowed to share. We are helping future test takers to prioritize their time. Everybody's time is extremely precious, we know that, and we want to try to help you really hone in on what components you need to study for. We also provide a suggested exam prep schedule, and I know everybody's schedule is different, but this helps us to keep people on track. So a week by week around the exam session, exam study session itself, this suggested schedule does help you break the full curriculum or the study guide into chunks. And then, you know, the sessions that we offer, we can talk about that schedule as well. We also can send reminder emails to help with this and then distribute some of the helpful added or enhanced materials accordingly. We also provide 2 additional practice quizzes. So in those, the materials that are free available on the website, on the greenadvantage.org website already, there is a practice quiz. We have that rolled into the exam prep schedule, but we also provide 2 additional practice quizzes. We also have activities throughout the exam prep session. Now, remotely, these are going to take a little different form, but we still keep the learning active. It's one of our trademarks of our all of our educational deliveries at O'Brien 360, that we keep the participation active, and it is not just a straight up slideshow or lecture. We also have digital flashcards. So these are you can either use these on your screen or you could print them, and the printed version is meant to fold the paper in half so you can, you know, practice with each other, practice with your families or your friends. But those are offered in two varieties, one which you can just use on your screen, where one slide is the question or the word, and then when you click to the next, it's the definition or an answer to a question, whereas the printed version is really meant for a 2-sided option. And then, of course, you'll get, if you sign up for the exam study session, you'll receive a PDF of all of the slides. We incorporate tons of photos from the field, real stories from the field, and, you know, a lot of examples of all of those, you know, either 300 or 800 best practices that Grady mentioned. So, you know, one of the things that we really incorporate into all of our work at O'Brien 360 is trying to make the content stick, whether we're working one-on-one with a subcontractor or a contractor on a job site, or whether we're teaching an exam study prep session. And so we do this through the activities I mentioned. Sorry for the sirens in the background. As my mom says, help is on the way to someone. We also have these assignments. And so, you know, you do need to invest in some time outside of the study session. But we try to help hone your attention by providing assignments that really do help with that retention, especially suited for adult learners with busy schedules. And then, like I said, we do bring in stories. I personally am out on job sites, a little less nowadays, but I actually, the last few weeks, I've been on at least a job site a week. So, you know, we're constantly seeing more examples in the field, technologies, you know, approaches and adaptations. And so we can continuously evolve and improve the delivery of both education and our consultancy. This is an example of how we help you prioritize your time. So, you know, you'll get this huge study guide that has part A and part B. And so we have a decision tree for you. So how familiar are you? Some of you may be extremely familiar with some of these concepts, and maybe some of you are not. So what we help you is, you know, to break down, you know, what do you already know? If you know a lot, then you can skim this part. If you don't know much, then definitely spend some time and invest in really thoroughly studying a part A. So that's just an example, a snapshot of what we provide during the study session. Quick, why O'Brien 360? One of the reasons is we are the oldest green building consultancy in the state of Washington. We've worked on hundreds of LEED projects. We also do lots of other green building rating systems. We've helped develop 11 built green rating systems in this state, and we actually helped with a couple in California as well. We do a lot more than lead consulting. We merged a year and a half ago with 360 Analytics. So now we have a building performance and a commissioning team. So we also conduct energy modeling and commissioning for both multifamily residential and commercial projects. And then personally, a little bit about me. I grew up, my family was in the family general construction business in a very small town in Indiana. So I got a little taste of construction all growing up. And then after school, decided to move out to the West Coast and pursue a career in green building. And that's taken many shapes. And along the way, I've woven in a lot of industry education, curriculum development, and delivery of education related to many aspects of green building. So like I said, I'm on job sites a lot, and I get to, you know, tell some good stories and bring examples from the field. So with that, I'll turn it back over, and Becky has a few more details and items to share as well.
Thank you both so much for giving us that overview and letting us know a bit more about these certifications and programs. Hold on one second. I'm going to share my screen now. This one. All right. Are you seeing my slides okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Mm-hmm. So we just talked about this. So we're going to move to the actual exam prep session will be held on June 9th and 10th. So that's the virtual training for the exam prep for both certifications. So you can visit the USGBC LA website to sign up for that. You do through also our talent portal. So the talent portal offers all of our webinars and virtual content, as well as access to other career opportunities. So that is really the best place to check it out. You will also be sent the slides and recording from today's webinar so that you can review all the material yourself and be informed when you sign up for the exam prep. And just to give you a little bit more of an idea of the way that USGBC-LA supports the green community, if you're interested in getting more involved, we have committees for every different interest and profession level. So really encourage you to get involved there if that is of interest to you. It is a great community, so you'll make lots of connections and do some great work. And then we also have our Municipal Green Building Conference and Expo coming up in August. We are planning for a mostly virtual conference now, as things are, but we haven't completely officially pulled the in-person element, though the online element, virtual element will be strong, if not 100%. So this is a really good opportunity to connect on other topics around green building and construction, as well as many other topics in the sustainability world. So we invite you to check that out. And then, of course, thank you to all of our sponsors who make all of this great content possible. We've been able to nimbly convert a lot of things to our new virtual or digital reality. So we really appreciate everyone that helps let us do that. So thank you again so much for joining us today. We were happy to have you. We will follow up next week with more information, and we hope that you guys jump into the exam prep and then take these certifications to further your careers in the green building world. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you soon.